Test. Test, test. Check. Hey, chat. You guys there? Aww. Looks like everything's working. Yo! Someone was there. What's up, Clown Shoes? Where you been, man? How you doing? Boom. You like my new themes? Hell yeah. Well. Yeah, I did, right? True. Da, 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 da. Sure, man. One of my favorites. Do I have a playlist? Playlist! It's weird because the funny thing about these songs is you can recognize them. And it reminds me of being young and hearing elevator music, because back in the day they used to be able to have this thing called Muzak. And it was like a particular radio station. They played it in hotels and stuff. But it was like they would play these hit songs, but they weren't good. Muzak was not good. But this is the better version of Muzak. I can't believe I just... See, my brain holds stupid shit in it for no reason. So I decided, might as well use it on Twitch. All that stupid shit I hold in my head for no reason just pops out. The affliction that I have. I found the proper place for it, I find. You say something to me in real life, there's 15 things in my head that I relate to immediately as soon as you say it to me. I'm not even kidding. It's an affliction. The good kind.
.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. President Trump says the United...
Wait. Oh, yeah, I haven't been live very long. That's right. I actually got on early today. Wow.
States is nearing a peace agreement with Iran, claiming he's in the final throes of a deal that could be completed within days. It's at least the 37th time since late March.
I've been saying that 39 times. Don't worry. This time it'll be real. Bro, we're screwed.
Publicly, Iran and the U.S. are closing in on an agreement, or that Tehran is eager to reach a deal. Trump's latest claim came after Israel and Iran halted drone and missile attacks against one another following the largest escalation since the so-called ceasefire was declared in April. On Monday, Iran's parliament speaker and top negotiator, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said Iran is responding to U.S. and Israeli violations.
What caused these tensions was that the Americans committed a blatant violation of the ceasefire, both through the naval blockade against the Iranian nation and by violating the agreement made on Lebanon and the ceasefire. The remarks made by the U.S. President about the Memorandum of Understanding contradicted parts that had been agreed to. This showed that they are seeking neither a ceasefire nor dialogue.
In Lebanon, Israeli forces ordered all residents of the coastal city of Tyre and its surrounding suburbs to flee north of the Zahrani River, just hours before it began heavily bombing the area. 5 people were killed, 8 others injured when Israel struck near a Red Cross center in Tyre.
Tyre's been there
4 of the wounded were paramedics. The attack
has.
also damaged a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Lebanon's health ministry reports Israel's killed more than 3,600 people in Lebanon since March 2nd, including 245 children. More than 900 children have been wounded. In Gaza, Israeli forces have reopened border crossings into the besieged Palestinian territory after closing them Sunday in retaliation for Iranian strikes. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had urged Israel to immediately reopen the passages, which are the only route for desperately needed humanitarian aid, which Israel severely limits.
Already
Meanwhile,
under
Israeli
famine.
Strikes killed at least 7 Palestinians
Yo,
Monday,
what's up,
including
Sauce? Yeah, believe it or not. 38 times now, Trump has said that there's an agreement coming. Literally.
child as Israel's army pushes the so-called
Trump has
yellow
no control
line
over this
deeper
war.
into Gaza.
The U.S. has no control over this war.
An Israeli drone
The U.S. lost this war when it started it. USA lost this war when it started it. There's no other way to look at it.
fired at people gathered in Jabalia refugee camp, killing 3. Among the dead, 8-year-old Jad Salman.
You cannot call this a W for America.
His father Yusuf
There's no
was seen
fucking way.
clutching his son's school bag, saying a final goodbye.
Let's go. It's fucking CHEWSDAY, bro.
My son is
I know. I don't want to see. I don't even want to see this. It makes me so sad. Seriously.
Kidnappings for ransom. In California, progressive Los Angeles City Council member Nithya Raman
Let's go.
will advance to a November runoff election
Fuck you, Spencer
against
Pratt.
incumbent Mayor Karen Bass.
Rip Bozo, bitch. Get the fuck out of my state, you loser. Get the fuck out of my house, bitch, Spratt. I don't want you in my state. Get the fuck. 25%. Whoever voted for that piece of shit is a loser. You guys suck. You oughta investigate your own brain if you voted for this dumbass. Look, he doesn't even fit in a fucking regular size hat. That hat wouldn't even fit me. It's a pea brain.
Ballots from the June 2nd primary showed Raman surging ahead of former reality TV personality Republican.
We got lots of beef. The price went down because screwworms. You're still waiting for the price of beef to go down. Yeah, right. I know.
Spencer Pratt. This comes as officials continue to count ballots in the race to succeed California Governor Gavin Newsom with more than 80% tallied. Republican Steve Hilton has a slight lead over Democrat Tom Steyer in a close race for second place. One of them will advance to take on former Biden administration Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra in the general election. On Monday, President Trump repeated his unfounded claim California's elections are rigged, writing on his
What the fuck? Right. Exactly. And you can't eat the meat, right? Right, so they'll liquidate him quicker. They won't grow as big. They won't make as much money, but they won't lose all of them because the screwworms won't. Because they can, yeah. I don't think I'll be eating beef for a while. Thanks. Fuck, I gotta stop eating Taco Bell.
Truth Social platform.
I don't
quote,
want
not
screwworms in my
for
food.
Spencer Pratt to have lost the LA runoffs after the big lead he had.
Not possible for Spencer Pratt to have lost the LA runoffs after the big lead he had. Third world nation. That's right.
Third world nation, unquote, Trump wrote. More than half of Los Angeles voters are registered Democrats compared to less than 15% who are Republicans.
We got screwworms. I mean, think about it. there's a reason we got all this shit popping up now. It's because obviously the inspections have stopped. The FDA is limping. Any regulatory bodies that normally regulate that shit have been stripped of their funding. So they're doing nothing. And on top of that, we got a huge problem with the crop this year because people couldn't buy fertilizer. So we got a double whammy coming at us this winter because this crop this summer is going to suck for beef. Fucking let's hope our chickens don't get hit. Jesus Christ, what's next?
President Trump formally
Chickens?
nominated his former personal lawyer, Todd Blanche, to serve as Attorney General. He would succeed Pam Bondi, whom the president fired in April. The nomination comes just weeks after Blanche used his position at the Justice Department to protect Trump, his family, and his business from any IRS investigation connected to tax returns filed before Trump's
Yes, look at that
controversial
look at this
$10 billion.
piece of shit. Look at this guy. Look at that look on his face. Jesus. I'm done. What are you going to do?
Dollar settlement with the IRS.
Get them all out.
In a statement, Public Citizen co-president Lisa Gilbert wrote, quote, "This is yet another example of Trump assembling a team of henchmen whose primary qualification is doing his own bidding rather than serving the nation to staff."
Dude, I was calling it. You both remember me yelling about how this fucker's a mob boss. I'm sure you remember saying that. I would just say that every fucking day. It's like, this guy operates like a mob boss. Yep. Reminds me of my mob family.
Half the government. Blanche demonstrated his toady qualities.
Yeah, meat packing company. Yeah, that's a good cover, isn't it? Isn't a meat packing company a really good cover for a mob operation? Tell me it isn't. It's like perfect for money laundering, getting rid of meat, all kinds of shit. If you're a mob boss, believe me, I would know. That's what I'm saying. This is a long-term exactly. Because you'll be able to buy cheap beef right before winter, but then come next year, it's going to be twice the price.
Throughout his audition for this role,
Sucks.
and is being awarded with the leading
and it's a long-term problem
as a result.
My cat. It's my cat snoring.
An immigrant from the nation of Georgia has died in an ICE Immigration and Customs Enforcement jail.
Too.
Mamuka Arkmeladze is the 50th person to die in ICE custody since Trump returned to office. The 43-year-old had been jailed at the Troubled Wind Correctional Center.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, full-size cows don't just pop out of the womb all full size and get ready for slaughter. People forget about this shit. They're like, we'll be fine. No worries.
In Louisiana for about 4 months when he was found unresponsive. ICE officials have not disclosed further details about his death.
You see how they're laid out? This is so dystopian, honestly. You couldn't have built... This is the beginning of a film. This is the first shot. This is the overview where you're going to spend the next 2 hours watching these guys getting watched. You know? What do they call us? A panopticon? Or something like that? And it's super cheap to build. And they've got these fucking ductworks on the top with the air conditioners and shit. And they just like randomly run shit. Not coded, you can tell. This is not coded. Like the kinds of the shit that I see on the roof here. Oh my God.
He's the second immigrant to die while detained at Wynn Correctional Center in less than 2 months.
Not surprising people are dying.
The facility is operated by the Wynn Parish Sheriff's Office and ICE contractor LaSalle Corrections. A recent inspection of the ICE jail found excessive use of force by guards, poor medical care, and unsanitary conditions.
Right? And look, it's like in the middle of nowhere. They just cut this trees out of the fucking place. They got watchtowers, double barbed wire fence. They got, like, the people that are in there were working in our fields and giving the fucker that's beating them food last week or maybe 2 months ago. This is how disgusting this is. Anyone that would support this kind of detainment for people that are just here illegally, quote unquote, there is no reason to put these people in this kind of condition. There is only one reason, and it isn't humanity, and it isn't good. It's to make money off bodies, okay? It's absolutely disgusting. These people are making money off of brown bodies, okay? This is tantamount to slavery, in my opinion. It's disgusting.
New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill conducted an inspection of the Newark ICE jail known as Delaney Hall Monday after previously being denied entry to the jail, where hundreds of immigrants began a hunger and labor strike in May. Governor Sherrill said her visit was closely controlled and limited, and that she was prohibited from speaking to any of the imprisoned immigrants inside. In a statement, Sherrill said the restrictions during the visit continue to raise, quote, serious questions about the real conditions of the facility and the treatment of those held there, unquote. Sherrill has faced criticism after she deployed New Jersey State Police on protesters outside Delaney Hall, which is run by the for-profit private prison company Geo Group.
Yeah,
Mutual aid volunteers have continued to support the families of those detained, even after facing harassment from law enforcement. On Monday, educator and YouTube star Ms. Rachel, known to millions of children around the world, paid a visit to the volunteers as well as the children of parents detained at Delaney Hall. She said on her Instagram, quote, met the sweetest children whose hearts are broken. They just want their parents home again, Ms. Rachel said. In related news, President Trump's so-called border czar, Tom Homan, lashed out at Delaney Hall protesters in an interview with Fox News, claiming government surveillance had revealed most of the demonstrators are not from New Jersey.
Look, these are paid protesters. We got facial recognition of people from Portland. They're at Portland riots, and many from the Minnesota. This is a well-planned, established thing they're doing. This isn't homegrown.
In the same interview, so-called border czar Tom Homan also laid out a plan by the Trump administration to deploy a massive surge of federal immigration agents to New York City in retaliation for new legislation recently signed by Governor Kathy Hochul that bans state and local law enforcement from collaborating with ICE and enacts other immigration protections. Homan's announcement came just days before the start of the World Cup this week, with immigration activists leading campaigns nationwide to protect communities amidst an expected rising presence of ICE agents during the soccer tournament. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani pushed back against so-called border czar Tom Homan's threats during a press conference with Governor Kathy Hochul Monday, calling for ICE to be abolished and saying, quote, I believe that ICE raids are cruel. They're inhumane. They do nothing to serve in the interest of public safety, the mayor said. Mamdani also responded to the mounting barriers faced by World Cup fans and soccer players from qualifying nations that are on Trump's travel ban and visa restrictions list.
This is a paperwork problem.
The World Cup is supposed to be a celebration of the world as a whole.
Unless you're a racist.
And some of the decisions that we've seen been taken by the federal administration, be it the denial of visas for journalists from certain countries or the rejection of a visa for a coach of a team, as well as single-day visas for specific foreign national teams, this is anathema to what this tournament is supposed to be about. If we cannot even allow the players, the teams, and the journalists covering those teams to come into this city and this country, then it begs a larger question about our commitment to the spirit of this tournament.
A federal judge has ruled against President Trump's $100,000 annual fee on H-1B visa applications, saying it's an unlawful tax. This decision comes days after another federal judge ruled against a Trump administration policy to freeze applications for asylum, green cards, work permits, and other immigration protections for people from 39 countries. And President Trump was loudly booed by basketball fans at Manhattan's Madison Square Garden Monday evening as he attended Game 3 of the NBA Finals between the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs. The unwelcome reception drowned out the singing of the national anthem after a camera showed Trump saluting from a VIP suite surrounded by bulletproof glass.
Fuck the national anthem when that guy's standing. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you very much. I hope your granddaughter remembers this day the rest of her life.
Fans reportedly waited outside Madison Square Garden for hours due to a strict security protocol resembling TSA. And Trump's presence prompted the New York police to cancel a watch party outside Madison Square Garden that would have attracted thousands of people. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast with the nation's sports editor, Dave Zirin.
I'm so
And those are some of the headlines.
Nice.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York, joined by Democracy Now!'s Juan Gonzalez in Chicago.
My favorite
Juan.
guy.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
He's my favorite Chicagoan. It used to be Killer
Welcome
Mike.
back, everyone. Energy prices around the world have been skyrocketing ever since the start of the war in Iran.
But at
least one country is weathering the storm better than others. In China, a years-long investment in renewable energy is beginning to pay off. In tonight's Prime Focus, ABC's Brent Clennet travels to rural China.
This is what I'm talking about. So, just so you guys know, I'm in this business 9 to 5. So, not obviously here in California. This is China. And this is what Trump took from me. I want you guys to see what Trump has taken from me. And my salary has been halved, basically, because of Trump. I am not kidding. And if I was to take my skills somewhere else, I would get paid half as much. So I am stuck in the battery, solar industry, which shouldn't be a bad thing. It should be high paying. It is. You could make good money. But not when they take away a 30% tax on this. And they think, oh, it's fine. China doesn't know what they're talking about. We need to open more coal plants. That's what Trump wants to do. Meantime, this is China, folks.
To show us the massive solar farms that are changing the face of energy consumption in that country.
Yeah.
This is China's northwestern Gansu province. For centuries, a harsh, unforgiving sun scorched this ancient Silk Road corridor into an inhospitable land of temples, trekkers, and giant sand dunes. Once a punishing burden, today those blinding rays fuel rows of solar panels stretching to the horizon. A shimmering sea of glass and steel that is fast becoming one of Beijing's most powerful buffers against global energy shocks.
China is really making the most of this arid landscape. These solar panels, they stretch out for miles. You can see why this is known as China's green power bank.
Oh my God, I love it.
Paying dividends.
Holy shit.
As conflict in Iran rattles global oil markets and sends energy prices surging, China's big bet on green tech is paying off.
So I've got to put on my protective helmet now because we're going to a little bit closer towards the tower. To the observation deck.
So they're storing energy
this is
as
China's
well as
first
producing
major solar thermal plant, just outside of the desert oasis town of Dunhuang. So proud of their milestone, it is now open to tourists.
You can see why part of the reason China has been able to offset
That's only part of it. The other ones are collectors.
Those are the Strait of Hormuz being closed is because of its commitment to renewables like this. A gigantic thermal power plant rising out of the desert.
All around it, you can see these mirrors.
Use mirrors to
see these massive mirrors, and they're just mirrors mounted on solar panel things, just like regular. You could mount solar panels on these too, and they can collect, but they're choosing to reflect the sun onto that point.
Concentrate sunlight onto central towers, producing heat that can be stored and converted into electricity around the clock.
Right. You can see the streams of light there. They are beaming onto that tower, which, as you can see, a circle halo on the top. So,
which then holds the heat like a battery.
Okay. So
look at the shape of it.
12,000 mirrors
look at the shape of it.
Are all around us.
You see what it's shaped?
I can hear them move, and you can see it slightly move. These are huge mirrored panels, and they move depending on the direction of the sunlight. They track that sunlight, they redirect it at that panel over there, which heats up the molten salt and generates extreme temperatures and power.
The tour guide tells us the plant can generate enough electricity in 1 hour for an average family's usage for 42 years.
Oh, shit.
Because it's so bright here and there's sun almost every day.
Together with wind farms and traditional solar arrays, they form one of the largest renewable energy clusters on the planet.
Another thing that they do is coming out of those solar panels is DC power, right, chat? And they send that over lines to other states or provinces, and along with this wind as DC power, rather than convert. So they're not converting it. So they're not losing power either. And with AC power, you can't transmit it that far, and you lose a lot on the transmission. And that's all we do in America. So
most crucially, because China recently upgraded its entire power grid. Energy produced out here in the far west hinterlands can serve China's power-hungry cities on the coast. And the timing is critical.
She's not telling you the details.
With instability in the Middle East threatening oil supplies,
the reason that they can send the power
heavily
that far
reliant on imports are scrambling. But China, the world's largest energy consumer, has spent the past decade aggressively diversifying, and now also the largest producer of renewable energy, according to the International Energy Agency.
The ramp-up really picked up in the last 5 years.
Yes.
That made wind and solar combined as a mix of energy supply to increase really quickly for the last 5 years, and now become quite meaningful.
That shift accelerated after the global energy crisis in 2022, when Beijing doubled down on renewables in a bid to protect its energy security.
Almost 50% of China's oil import comes from the Middle East, including Iran. So what's happened since late February has obviously caused some disruption on energy supply for China. But the good thing is because how quickly renewables have stepped up as a mix of energy supply throughout the years, and because how cheaply and competitively that solar and wind, including, has come in as an energy cost, that has allowed China to keep energy prices, particularly on electricity prices, relatively low.
More than half of China's new power.
So remember, the government is funding this. And by putting these things in, they're driving the price of electricity down. Did you hear what he said? Even though the price is going up for their oil, which they get mostly from Iran because of us.
Our capacity now comes from renewable sources.
Talk about,
and here in Gansu, that transformation is visible everywhere.
National security.
As we're driving along here in Gansu province, we're seeing more of these towers. They kind of pop up like suns in the desert.
Yeah, they have a bunch of them.
There, shining extremely brightly, and then next to it is one which is now under construction.
See?
The scale dwarfs many projects elsewhere. In the United States, businesses are still investing billions in large-scale renewable energy projects, but at least 38 new solar, wind and battery power plants were cancelled in the first part of 2026 in the face of opposition to renewables from the Trump administration, according to the non-partisan organisation E2. In contrast, China's state-backed renewable push continues to expand at speed. That first solar plant we visited just came online in 2018, and now there are 18 across the country and more than a dozen more under construction. This region also tells a story of transition.
This is Yumen. This is basically the cradle of China's oil industry. In 2003, however, when oil production basically dried up, everyone moved out and it became a ghost town. We are starting to see signs of life return as renewable companies move in. You can see the refinery there in the background, and here columns of old tankers, rusty now, a reminder of the booming industry that was once here.
While China is not immune to global price shocks, its massive domestic renewable base, combined with coal reserves, is helping stabilise supply and limit economic fallout. But coal still dominates much of China's energy mix, contributing to the country being the largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, according to the research group Climate Trace. Still, in a moment of global uncertainty, this landscape tells a larger story. A strategic bet on renewables, once driven by pollution concerns and long-term planning, is now proving to be a geopolitical advantage.
That's what I mean. So what's stopping us? Absolutely nothing. Except fucking President Trump, chat. That's it.
Yeah, and joining me now with more on the California races and what they tell us about the upcoming midterm elections is the former Speaker of the House, longtime California Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Speaker,
what do you got to say,
this morning. Thanks so much
Kevin?
for joining us.
Good to see you, Maria.
So what is your assessment of the California race? Why don't we know? I mean, this is such a long process, continuing to read ballots days after Election Day. What are you expecting here?
Well, the thing I'm expecting is I think the AP can actually call it from your former guest, Hilton, that he's going to come in number 2. Steyer would need to win and gain on him about 121,000 votes per million, and he's only been doing about half of that. So I think it's pretty sure that Hilton is going to be the number 2. I'm not as confident when it comes to the LA mayor's race. When I looked at the latest drop, we found that the councilwoman, Raman, that she was even beating Bass, and she's really coming on. Now, the question to the rest of the world is, what happened to California elections? Well, I'll tell you, it's Gavin Newsom. When Gavin Newsom was elected governor, California, you knew who was elected in a day to 2 days. Now it takes more than weeks, almost a month. Why did we get here? Gavin changed a number of election laws. And what you want to see is what did he do and why did he cause it? What people want to see in election, they want to see election integrity, they want to see transparency, and they want to see timely reporting. We had that in California. We were very liberal in the rules about absentee ballots, but we had accountability. We had cut-off voter registration 30 days before the election. That helps the registrars to know who's going to vote and the candidates. Now we have same-day voter, and you don't have to show ID.
Forever.
Gavin changed the rules where he mails ballots to everyone. So he took away the choice to Californians to vote in person or to vote absentee. Everybody gets mailed a ballot. But he didn't clean up the rolls. So that raises doubt in people's minds. He takes away transparency.
You don't need to clean up the rolls.
When you look at the LA mayor's
None
race,
of this, he's spouting bullshit.
The third place person gave it like a concession speech that night and cried. And she was getting the most votes in the last drop. So if she didn't even believe that she could move up, that puts in question to the whole election itself.
Oh, sure.
And that's why it brings doubt to people. Look, Florida and Texas, nobody questions their election integrity. And they can tell you
no, because they're run by Republicans. Florida also has mail-in ballots.
It just shows what Gavin
Trump himself votes by mail.
We just lost the place where Fortune 500, the #1 place was California, the most headquarters. Texas just took that from us. And now they've also taken our transparency and our ability to count elections as well.
Get the fuck out of my state, Kevin.
I mean, look, we've also got what Steve Hilton just mentioned, the Olympics in 2 years. That's a serious issue there. And
I said on that board. I'm very excited about it. I'm helping as much as we can.
Will they be ready, though, Kevin?
Yes, because that is not run by the government. The team that we have put together, we got a former U.S. military general helping run it. This is unbelievable what they were doing. This L.A. Olympic team that is being planned actually went to Italy to help. They put them in to make sure they could get some of the things going. I'm very confident we're going to be able to do the job. And remember, when we had the last time we had the Olympics in L.A., unbelievable what we showed the world, what Uberoff was able to do in managing that, and I believe our team right now is managing very well. We have met a number of times with the president to walk through. We want to make sure from the security level as well. We will be prepared, but believe me, this is not being run by the government of California.
Well, I mean, speaking of the leadership there, I mean, you mentioned Gavin Newsom and what he's done in terms of the election. I want to play this soundbite of what he said about a break-the-glass plan so that you always have a Democrat in charge. Watch this. Get your reaction.
My focus has been making sure that doesn't happen, and I've exercised, not just a focus, but I've exercised through some action efforts to encourage that doesn't happen by making my case. But there is a break the glass scenario, and there's many people that have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked out, and we're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen.
Kevin, what is he referring to as this break the glass strategy?
I don't know, and it's very concerning to me as a governor to say that. Wouldn't you want the people of your state to select who should be? And you know what? If you got cut out, The people have the voice. The power rests with the people. This is why it's so concerning to me of how much damage he has done to our state by just simply taking the power away from the people.
California.
It was in our Constitution on how we would draw the lines.
Yeah.
He just did that to California, which is
too bad you lost. You suck.
And now he's pre-picking who can represent you instead of the people. That's why he is so dangerous.
Into the bank, yeah, ha ha ha.
And you wonder, we never had that prior to Gavin, and you don't want to make sure Gavin ever does that to our country.
Yeah, but I want to get your take on what all of this tells us about the upcoming midterms, because you are so strategic on that subject. And I want to get your take on what the midterms look like for the Republicans. You have to believe that this is a victory, even though we still don't know who will be there. But the fact that Spencer Pratt has done so well in L.A. and
25%
Steve Hilton is doing so well in L.A., doesn't that show you something about where the people are? What do you think that tells us about the upcoming November midterm elections?
It's a referendum on the mismanagement what these Democrats have done in their managing of their states, of their cities, and others.
No, it isn't. There's no referendum. Get the fuck out of here. This guy's
so there's
a
an
loser.
Opportunity. It should make people want to run for office. They don't have to have been in it before, but bring that management skill in. And it really cuts down to, if you look at Pratt's race, coming out of nowhere, not having much money, but running the very best ads, he just stuck to the main issues. Yeah. Everybody wants crime to be lower. Everybody wants safe streets, clean parks. And he would just run the city the way you expect it, not by party. So you can challenge Democrats in some of the most democratic areas because they haven't managed well. It means that if Republicans unite, if they have a clean message, history is not on their side. The party in power normally loses seat at a time. They have a real opportunity. And I have a greater belief than I did a month ago that Republicans have an opportunity to keep the House if they're really focused.
Ain't gonna happen, bro.
Leadership is weak. Their money is low.
You're copium.
They don't have a message right now. But I see an opportunity where prior Democrats only had to win 3 seats to win the majority. Now they have to win 9 just to start out with. So we have to have a clear message and a reason why we need to be reelected.
So you're feeling better about the House potentially keeping the majority. Real quick before you go, the single biggest issue that Republicans should run on the midterms.
Well, doing what they said they would do, securing the border, the economy, and making us safer.
Get the fuck out of here with that.
We've got to get the oil price down, though. That's going to determine a lot what happens in November.
For sure. Speaker Kevin McCarthy, great to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not. It's gonna auto-mod your ass. What are you doing, dude? Must be a chud the builder lover. Must love sucking that chud cock. It's a chud the builder cocksucker lover. Oh.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
Yeah, you didn't
I'm
see
Mina
that,
Goodman
thankfully.
with Juan Gonzalez. The worlds of sports and politics collided here in New York on Monday night, just blocks from our studio, as President Trump attended Game 3 of the NBA Finals at Madison Square Garden. The San Antonio Spurs beat the New York Knicks. It was the Knicks' first loss since late April. Due to Trump's appearance, authorities shut down the area around the Garden, and ticket holders were asked to arrive hours early and go through TSA-style security. Trump watched the game from a suite surrounded by bulletproof glass. During Avery Wilson's performance of the national anthem, many in the crowd booed when Trump was shown on the Jumbotron.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights.
The New York York Times reports the New York crowd booed Trump more than they booed the Spurs when they took the floor. Yeah. Trump was also loudly booed at watch parties in the city after the game. Trump downplayed the incident.
I wonder what Lexus thinks with their name right behind him like that. Interesting.
Incident.
It was, I think, mostly cheers.
Mostly cheers.
It was loud and it was very enthusiastic.
To talk about this and more, we're joined by Dave Zirin, sports editor for The Nation magazine, host of the Edge of Sports podcast. His new article headline, "Not Even Trump Can Ruin the Knicks Moment." Really?
Really?
Can you talk about what happened last night?
Yeah, first and foremost, I was wrong. Donald Trump absolutely ruined the Knicks moment last night. I believe he is the reason why they lost. The game lasted about half an hour to 45 minutes longer than a usual game. It was an absolute slog. You mentioned the 2 to 3 hour wait to get in there. The TSA style screenings to get into the game. It definitely had an effect on things, especially because this was supposed to be a day about the Knicks. It was supposed to be a celebration of New York, and instead it was about one authoritarian, malignant narcissist. I mean, it's actually not a good thing that there were more boos for Trump than the Spurs, because it shouldn't have been about Trump at all. We shouldn't even be talking about him right now. And I got to say something about the boos, because I was at a watch party in Brooklyn. The boos were cacophonous at a bar called Chilo's in Bed-Stuy.
Which you just took over.
Which I just took over. We're turning it into a place for the people, a dive bar for the people.
Oh, hell
and we
yeah.
had an amazing event. The boos were out into the streets, and we weren't the only bar where you could hear it. You could choose where to hear the boos.
And
to me, that was important because it was a reminder that New York City's relationship to Donald Trump isn't just about contemporary politics or the last 3 election cycles. It's about a 50-year abusive relationship that this city has had with this man, from his refusal to rent to people of color in the 70s to him whipping up racist violence due to the Central Park exonerated 5 case, to his desire to, quote unquote, develop our parks with his tacky buildings. This city does not like this man, and we've been warning the country about him for, frankly, decades. And maybe last night was the most powerful audio and visual representation of that relationship.
I hope Kai Trump remembers this day and is
the players who are on the court felt about this, especially we know, for instance, Josh Hart back in 2020, one of the key figures on the Knicks, tweeted back before the November election, "Yes, sir, get Trump's dumb expletive out of the White House." How do you think they felt about what was going on?
Well, I think for the Knicks, and I know this a little bit from trying to talk to people on the team, there was a bit of a resentment, because this was supposed to be a night about them, about their hard work. They're coming in off a near record 13-game winning streak in the playoffs. It's been the equivalent for the city of going to 13 movies and having them all be awesome. And it created a great vibe in the city. You walk in the city, it's orange and black everywhere. I'm sorry, orange and blue everywhere, the royal blue wherever you see. And it was supposed to be the beautiful culmination. It was the first home game in an NBA Finals for the Knicks since 1999. And their chance to go up 3-0, which would effectively have ensured them the championship for the first time in 53 years, longer than I've been on this earth. And this is the team of my youth. This is the team of my heart. So to see it become about Donald Trump was certainly upsetting for fans, not just the people in the well-heeled tens of thousands of dollars seats in the stadium, but the watch parties, the bars, everybody who's put their heart and soul into this team were basically slapped in the face by Donald Trump.
And of course, for a person who claims to be a big Knicks fan, there was that photo spread on X of Trump asleep in his box in the middle of the game. So he obviously wasn't paying too close attention. But I wanted to ask you about also another issue of the Trump administration, which is the World Cup. The treatment of the Trump administration to some of the participants in the World Cup, the exclusion of the Iranian team forced to fly in and fly out of the country from Mexico when they're going to be playing games on the same day, and also the recent exclusion of a referee chosen by FIFA from Somalia who was denied entry into the United States.
Yeah, I'll just say I've been covering the World Cup in person and at times when it's been in authoritarian countries remotely. And this is the first World Cup that I would ever describe as joyless. It's always been a celebration, a party, no matter what country that has hosted it, whether a liberal democracy or an authoritarian regime. But this is the first time that travel warnings are being issued to fans coming here. Even warnings are being issued to people who live in the United States by immigration groups because of the threats of ICE being at the stadiums.
Yeah, because
there's a joylessness. It's supposed to be the party that unites the world. Yeah. And like the Knicks game last night, this looks to be something that Trump is using his reverse Midas touch to ruin.
It's disgusting.
And one more question on what happened last night.
Mm-hmm.
That image of President Trump in Dolan's box, James Dolan. And for a global audience who doesn't know about the significance of the man who owns both Madison Square Garden and the Knicks.
Yeah, James Dolan is someone who made his money the old-fashioned way. He inherited it. That's one of his commonalities with Donald Trump. Yeah. They have a very close relationship going back decades. Dolan and his son were both married at Mar-a-Lago. Dolan has given Trump untold amounts of money for his political campaigns. Dolan wants to lead a push to rename Penn Station, over which he has a lot of influence because of the presence of Madison Square Garden there. Yeah. He wants to rename Penn Station after Donald Trump. They have had meetings about that. But that's not all they share. They share accusations of sexual assault and sexual battery and having unsafe work environments for women. That's something Dolan has paid a price for. Racism allegations, of course, plague both men, although calling them allegations for Donald Trump is a stretch to say the least. And as I said, both children of wealth. So they have a tremendous amount of commonalities, but basically they're the commonality that exists when you have, I don't know how else to put it, but two rich jerks who are born on third base and act like they hit a triple.
And, and Dolan developing Madison Square Garden, the deals that have to be made, and this is with Trump?
This is with Trump. The idea is to move Madison Square Garden to be actually on top of Penn Station and to rename Penn Station after Donald Trump. That's the big plan. They have had meetings about this. This is not rumor. This is what Trump wants. People coming into Trump Station. And that's the authoritarian playbook if there ever was one. He needs to name as many things as possible after him now, because after he leaves, like with the Trump Kennedy Center, people are going to want to take those names down.
Well, I want to thank you, Dave Zirin, sports editor for The Nation magazine, host of the Edge of Sports podcast. His new article is headlined, "Not Even Trump Can Ruin the Next Moment," though he's reconsidered that.
Recanting.
And you're doing a live podcast tonight at Shiloh's, your new bar in Brooklyn?
In the Bed-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn. I'm doing a great event with 11-year NBA veteran Atan Thomas, where we're going to talk about all things sports and politics. So come out to Chilo's if you want to have a good old time.
So on Friday, dozens of activists with student labor and community groups with the Stop Funding Billionaires campaign protested in front of NASDAQ headquarters here in New York to protest the upcoming SpaceX IPO. They chanted and held signs that read, "No Nazis on NASDAQ." Quinn Slobodian now joins us. Quinn is a professor of international history at Boston University. His new book, co-authored with Ben Tarnoff, is Muskism, a guide for the perplexed. What concerns you most about this IPO offering and Musk being on the brink of becoming a trillionaire?
Disgusting.
Professor Slobodian.
Well, there's a whole lot of things that concern me about it, but one of the things I find most striking is the way his relabeling of himself as the techno king of Tesla in 2021 is now becoming somewhat more of a reality at a larger scale through the SpaceX IPO. What I mean there specifically is he's really bending and reshaping corporate governance as a whole around his individual personality.
Of course.
The movement of his companies from Delaware to Texas means that he's not held accountable to shareholders in the way he would have been before. The creation of a whole share structure so that he has 85% of the shares that would be required to vote him out of a leadership position means that he's produced a kind of ironclad, almost monarchical position inside of this company that actually completely short circuits the whole idea of the public company, which is that there's supposed to be a kind of a shareholder democracy, quote unquote, that can hold leadership accountable. In this case, if you look at that SpaceX IPO, it says that the key person risk, meaning everything hangs on Musk's shoulders, is so great that even if he dies, there actually isn't even a succession plan. It would be in a completely unprecedented zone. So the degree of influence being centralized in one extremely erratic and often dangerous personality is something that seems to be of great concern.
Yeah.
Also, I think that there are a couple of other things we talk about in the book that help to get a handle on some of this stuff that Eric was explaining so well. One of the things we talk about in the book is something called attention alchemy. So Musk has been very good at turning himself into a kind of a human meme stock. As Eric was mentioning, making retail investors have access to 30% of these shares means you're relying on the kind of hype cycles and a lot of the kind of hyper loyal fan base that Musk has built up online, especially in now his kind of bespoke social media echo chamber of X.com.
Yes, sir.
So he's able to produce his own reality inside of that space of X.com, such that, for example, when you looked at yesterday what the top news, today's news was on X, both of those things were to do with Elon Musk.
Oh, they are
one of
every
the
day.
One of the things was that Elon Musk questions whether colonialism had made Africa poor, and the other one said that Argentine President Javier Milei praised Musk for defeating the woke mind virus.
Right.
If you look at SpaceX as he describes it as a vertically integrated innovation engine, stretching from a social media platform to satellites and rockets, then what he really seems to be saying he's going to do is create a closed communications ecosystem where that really does become today's news.
Correct.
Where he can control the message and the content and then use this to kind of automate away the problem of social consent at scale. So above and beyond those problems that I think are accurately being identified of the average index fund holders being left holding the bag, there's kind of a larger ideological project at work here that I think we should all be very concerned that this is now becoming kind of the load-bearing infrastructure for the global financial system. Another term we introduce in the book is the idea of state symbiosis. It seems that Musk is also creating a situation where he becomes deeply reliant on state contracts. The state becomes reliant on him. He has over $7 billion of defense contracts just this year. And the idea there in the end is that if this starts to teeter, then he'll be too big to fail and the state will have to step in to bail him out.
Yeah.
And Professor Slobodian, could you talk about Starlink a little bit? It's already the world's largest satellite internet provider, and the immense power that it has, not just in terms of economy, but in terms of warfare and state power around the world.
Starlink is really kind of the crown jewel of the SpaceX offering. It's the part of the company that actually makes money. The rockets kind of break even. The AI segment is burning money at an unprecedented rate. Starlink satellites, he first started putting into low Earth orbit in 2019. And by now there are around 10,000 in orbit, which accounts for over 70% of all of the satellites in the sky. So he's produced this whole new market sector of low Earth orbit. These things are only 500 kilometers from Earth, much, much closer than the geostationary satellites. They're used by consumers. There are over 10 million subscribers worldwide. But essentially, they're also used by armed forces in the field, famously in Ukraine. And they're going to be a central part to the Golden Dome strategy that Trump has already started handing out contracts for. So there's something called Star Shield, which is a more heavily encrypted military network for satellites that is absolutely central to this missile defense program that is the source of a great deal of incoming revenue for people like Musk. So the idea is he can scale up from 10,000 to, as described in the SpaceX prospectus, up to 1 million, and thus create a kind of global telecommunications monopoly. However, this is also one of his greatest vulnerabilities. You can't just put satellites into the sky without getting approval. In fact, something called the International Telecommunications Union, which is an agency of the UN, needs to approve these, and there's no way that they're going to approve his request for 1 million satellites. Also, individual countries need to accept his ability to sell the receivers down on Earth. And many countries are still unwilling to do that. South Africa has said no. So far, India has said no. When Musk refused to do content moderation in Brazil after the attempted coup there, Brazil went ahead and seized the assets of Starlink. So if you read that SpaceX prospectus, you also find out that there are a lot of weak points and choke points. And Musk's greatest vulnerability is still old-fashioned legislation, regulation, laws made by democratically elected governments.
And there was at least one European pension fund, a Danish fund, that announced that they will be excluding SpaceX from their investments, claiming the CEO claimed the extreme concentration of power effectively prevents the board from exercising meaningful oversight and makes it impossible to remove Musk against his will. What is the potential danger to even to the U.S. economy of so much investment, especially by index funds in SpaceX?
Well, the problem there is the situation we're in the United States is a very small number of tech companies are responsible for a great deal of the stock market rise in the last couple of years. Mainly those small number of tech companies also have an unprecedented number of concentration of power in the figure of these founder CEO techno kings, if you like. If one of those founder CEOs starts to go off on a limb, as Musk has been very well known to do, to commit himself, let's say, even more passionately to the neo-fascist causes in Western Europe that seem to be so important to him personally, then you could create a crisis within that company, within its profitability, which then doesn't just become a problem for that company. It produces a cascade effect of loss of investor confidence in the tech sector altogether. It drains money out of people's savings accounts and their retirements accounts. Right. And it can be the kind of tipping point that leads to a crash in the sector altogether. So at a broad level, what the brave stance of the Danish pension fund should show us is not just that we need to regulate the outliers, the more extreme members of this Silicon Valley leadership class, but we should ask a bigger question about why the political economy of the U.S. and by extension the world has become a one-way bet on unproven technology. Exactly. Why isn't there more diversification?
Look at what
China's doing.
Why isn't there
more
instead?
Attention to forms of the green capitalist models even that were so popular only a few years ago? Why is the biotech sector, the higher ed sector, not valued for the things that it brings instead of only this often outrageous and absurd vision of launching AI data centers into the stratosphere?
And finally, we just have Miniquin, but one word we didn't use in this segment was Doge. Elon Musk is the face of cutting government spending, yet he is taking up more and more of government funding. If you could comment on that and what the protesters held outside NASDAQ as they chanted "No Nazis on NASDAQ," what they mean?
Huh? Well, yes, I think Doge is understood best not just as an effort to cut government across the board, but as a way to refashion and reformat government to make it more open to be the site of injection for new services from Silicon Valley, specifically Palantir and Musk's AI tools. So it's not about demolishing the government. It's about making the government more compatible, ready for the kind of products that Musk offers, and to make him then an indispensable part of the infrastructure. Already they're talking about commercial dominance in Musk's control of military communications infrastructure. When the politics of that person who is doing that is also consonant with the furthest right-wing parts of the European identitarian movement, then one starts to see why people would hold up signs talking about Nazis in the NASDAQ. It makes us all ask a question that even if those stocks should do well, even if those retail investors aren't holding the bag, as it were, by the end, let's say they keep profiting, and at the same time, Musk keeps filling his feed with questionings about whether or not racism should be recalibrated back to a kind of normal status quo ante, whether or not remigration is the right policy. for Western Europe and the United States, and whether or not any piece of democratic policy that goes against his best interests is simply a matter of corruption and bugs in the mainframe. That's what we really should be worried about, the possibility of those things to live together, tech-driven prosperity and radical right-wing racist politics.
Professor Quinn Slobodian teaches international history at Boston University. His new book is Muskism, A Guide for the Perplexed. And we'll link to your Atlantic piece headlined Elon Musk's SpaceX Endgame. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.
So Trump's second term has been nothing short of an absolute catastrophe. It has been genuinely apocalyptic on every single front. You have the economy on the brink of utter destruction. Gas prices are up. Grocery prices are up. People are losing their jobs. We're dealing with inflation. We're dealing with unemployment, where even the market has now started to go down. But we still haven't hit rock bottom because there's going to be a massive crash at some point because there's nothing but a massive AI bubble. This has been a disaster on every front. But perhaps the worst front has been foreign policy. So we're talking about a rogue criminal regime that has relentlessly bombed fishing boats from Venezuela and Trinidad and Tobago and Colombia. They did regime change in Venezuela, killing a grandma, kidnapping the president, stealing their gold and oil. Trump now has hundreds of millions of dollars in a private bank account in Qatar that he stole from the people of Venezuela. They've bombed Yemen and Somalia and Nigeria and Ecuador and Iran. Of course, they've threatened Greenland and Panama and Cuba and Mexico. He said he wants to reinvade Afghanistan. He's doing fake peace agreements, then continuing to bomb stuff. He says he stopped 8 wars when he started 8 wars and stopped 0, okay? It's been a catastrophe. But it's gotten to the point where so much is happening, people can't even keep up. So let me show you this. Clash Report says, Cuba has begun distributing weapons to civilians and urging citizens to prepare for a possible foreign invasion. The government has reportedly activated contingency plans across the country. Holy shit. So there's been a lot of reporting detailing how U.S. troops have been in place for quite a while to do a potential invasion of Cuba. You heard that correctly. Troops are in place to do a potential invasion. The Cuban government is reacting by doing all they can do, which is arming the citizens and saying, hey, if need be, use this. Protect yourself. Fight back. That's what's happening. Absolutely ludicrous stuff now, especially because the Middle East just erupted again. The hot war is back on between Israel and Iran and the U.S., okay? The world's on fire right now. The world's on fire. We'll do a separate segment on this, but the Atlantic Ocean current is in the midst of collapsing, which could plunge Europe into a fucking ice age. It just totally destroy modern civilization as we know it. And as all this is going on, it's war after war after war. You know, bombing raid after bombing raid after bombing raid. Just rank imperialism out there in front of the world for the world to see, okay? Now let me show you what's going on inside Cuba, because this stuff is absolutely devastating, and it is 100% because of the oil embargo done by Trump, done by the U.S. against Cuba. Here we go.
In Havana, survival has become part of daily life for Felicia de la Caridad Alvarez, a former hospital custodian who has one blind eye and chronic illnesses.
We've been without water for 6 months. Yesterday we hit 48 hours without power.
Despite U.S. sanctions and fuel restrictions, and despite President Donald Trump's announcement in early January that Cuba was ready to fall, millions of Cubans like Alvarez are still going, and their government is still in charge. Resistir, meaning to resist, is a central tenet of Cuba's decades-old communist revolution, and Cubans have had years of practice surviving hardships under the island's struggling state-run economy, long plagued with shortages. Street sellers like Diosmel Ortega show just how resourceful the population is.
Everything right now, absolutely everything. Practically all these little things that we have here comes from the trash.
Oh my God, look at this. Look at this. Old combs, remotes, old calculators, old phones. Holy shit. And they're finding a way to repurpose all this stuff because they've been blocked from the modern world. They've been blocked from the modern world because of the U.S.
People come here a lot to buy little things, whether it's a hose, a book, a CD, or even straws. And sometimes you just stand there and think, are people really going to want a straw that someone found? Because everyone knows and is aware that it's from the trash.
Cuba-based sociologist Luis Emilio Aybar says society is resilient because it hasn't had any other choice. But there's no doubt the impact is very severe, especially if it drags on, he says, because it's very difficult for a country to survive without fuel. Blackouts have increased in recent weeks, according to Aybar, as have protests, which see residents vent their frustration by banging on pots. That's despite the government's general intolerance for uprisings. Still, the spirit of resistir lives on in those like Omaira Blanca, who survived the hardships of the 1990s after Cuba's former patron, the Soviet Union, collapsed. We Cubans are fighters, she says. With the little we have, we survive and keep moving forward. That's just how it is. That's how we Cubans are.
So here's my question for the right. If the Cuban government is so bad and so corrupt that it's basically gonna collapse anyway, then why the fuck are you embargoing them? Why are you intervening? Why are you interfering? Why not just let it collapse under its own weight? It's gonna collapse. It's gonna collapse. You don't need to do this, right? Now, of course, the answer is they know that's not true. They know that the system would actually be fine. Cuba, despite all of the economic warfare waged by the U.S. against them, they've created an amazing healthcare system and export doctors to other countries to help people. They created their own lung cancer vaccine. This was a country that was thriving even under economic warfare waged by the imperialist West. Okay, now total fuel embargo, and it's turning into an utter catastrophe because of the outside meddling. Ready? Here we go. I got more for you.
In Havana, like every commodity, hope is in short supply. Rubbish bins are now a place to harvest as much as discard. They offer sustenance for the hungry.
All this dumpster diving is directly because of Trump, directly because of MAGA, directly because of Marco Rubio and what they're doing to this country.
Desperate must decide what will do them more harm than good. On every street corner, the same fetid mess, the same hunt for something worth salvaging. Neglisis is recycling to survive. He gets 30 pesos for a kilo, that's a few pence. He'd need to collect several big bags like this just to afford a piece of fruit. Berta Baez has been picking them up all morning, but bristles at the prices here. An entire day's work just for a few bananas. She says the government gives her very little money, so she has no choice but to sell cans to be able to eat. This is a city where civic pride is a luxury they can no longer afford. It's not just the crumbling grandeur. That slow rot set in decades ago as the American blockade grew and Cuba's communist allies dwindled. But now, as a result of an American oil embargo, power shortages are critical. Butter is sold quickly in this heat. With no refrigeration, shoppers must get it before it goes rancid. Water doesn't flow anymore in Havana. Instead, it's dragged. With no power, electric pumps are idle, so this is how some homes are resupplied. Jose Luis tells me it's the same in all the houses. For 6 months, there's been no water service here. And when I ask who he blames, the Americans or his own government, he says talking too much can get you arrested. Cuba's plight is evident at every meal. Coal, not gas, is used to cook by many, a daily indicator of how bad things have got. Petrol is so scarce it's forced many of Cuba's famous classic cars off the road. These relics of a bygone age before the revolution are now stationary reminders of today's shortages. Electric cars or rickshaws have become a more reliable form of transport. But for drivers who have no choice, getting more than their 20-litre a month ration of fuel involves cruising the city and signalling as they pass petrol stations to see if the staff will sell them some fuel on the black market. For Michael, the lack of available medicine has cost him dear. His untreated diabetes resulted in both legs being amputated 3 years ago.
Oh my word. Oh no. Oh God, no. Yeah, this is what we heard, right? This is what we heard, that you've had, they've had to try to save babies in incubators manually when the power goes out and when they run out of fuel and the generators don't run anymore. And now, I mean, look, this is real as a heart attack, bro. What we're doing to these people is real as a fucking heart attack, man. Holy shit. That's so disturbing.
In both legs being amputated 3 years ago, and since then the situation has got worse. When I ask him who he blames, he's blunt. The Cuban government, citing the expensive medicines he can't afford. Those who work in Cuba's health system, like Jose, can get their hands on medical supplies, and that's part of the problem. He sells some of it on this black market website. Cuba's famous hospital network is crumbling. Despite Donald Trump's oil blockade, some aid shipments are being allowed through. This one from Mexico has 7,000 tons of rice, milk and beans to help feed a country on the brink.
And by the way, I should point out, the only reason that anything was allowed in is because Russia decided we're not going to listen to the U.S. If they tell us to stop, we're just going to keep going.
Yeah.
And Trump blinked, and it allowed in the aid shipment. And then I guess now Mexico has sent some aid shipments as well. But this is devastating. All of this is avoidable, bro. All of this is avoidable. And let's be clear. There's no defense of the government. They had problems, before U.S. intervention, right? Although the U.S. has been intervening virtually the entire time, so it's kind of hard to make that case. But I'm no fan of any version of authoritarianism, any version of cracking down on free speech, any attempt to control the media or, find people guilty of thought crimes. Having said that, what would stop the immediate pain, devastation, and destruction is just to allow in all of the fuel.
Right.
But no, what's happening here, and this is no secret, is that Marco Rubio got the green light from Trump, and the green light was basically starve the fucking country to death and hope that this leads to an overthrow of the government. And then when that didn't happen, and that didn't work, and now the whole country is fucking starving and dying, now they're looking at this moment to say, oh, they're weakened, let's actually invade and physically overthrow the government in a similar way to how they kidnapped Maduro.
The Cuban government brushes off criticism of its record, saying the current crisis is not its fault.
What would you say to Cuban people that we have talked to who don't blame the American government for this situation, they blame your government?
I wouldn't have exactly a message for Cubans. I think that that question should be asked to the American government because they are the responsible actor.
Yeah.
New financial sanctions have forced international hotel brands to pull out. What greater tangible sign of Cuba's crumbling tourism industry than resorts being taken over by a government in crisis? The music might still be playing, but there's almost no one left to hear it. Each evening, Cuba enters its own dark age. Huge swathes of the capital are without power, despite residents' best efforts to find a remedy. The fortunate few have generators, but only as long as the fuel lasts.
In a city which was renowned for its nightlife and joie de vivre, Havana has now been plunged into darkness and largely into silence. If you look at the blocks of flats around here, there are no lights on apart from the few people who've managed to charge up a battery during the day.
In this city of silhouettes, most are forced to make their own entertainment. Yet in exclusive corners, there is a land of plenty for the few. The elite have the power in Cuba in every sense. Lazaro has a rap sheet for his rhymes, and he doesn't care. He wears his heart on his sleeve, his allegiance to Trump on his chest, and his contempt for the authorities on his skin.
Oh no! Oh no!
What a loser!
Oh no! You gotta be kidding me, bro. You gotta be kidding me. Uncle Tom shit right here, dog. I mean, you got Donald Trump on your... Trump literally said, I'm going to take Cuba. I'm going to own it. Frankly, I can do whatever I want with it. The same guy who we just saw steal Venezuela's oil and put hundreds of millions of dollars in a private bank account only he controls in Qatar. You think this guy's looking out for your best interest? You think he's looking to free you? You think he's looking for liberty for the people of Cuba? No, he's a gangster. He's a thug. He's a criminal. He's an imperialist. Oh my God. This is like, it is an acceptable position to say, I'm against the people starving us to death and stealing all of our fuel. I'm against that, and I would like reform of my own government as well. But no, you're just going to blame... Oh my God. I don't even want to hear the rest of this, but let's do it.
His indelible slogan, down with the Cuban government. And he's been imprisoned multiple times for his anti-government rapping. He says he's asking for Donald Trump to finally enter the island because we need an intervention now so that...
Oh my God. Yeah, that's going to go real well, bro. In the same way that, you know, the Iranian diaspora in the U.S. was begging for Trump to go into Iran. Then he bombs a girls' school and kills 200 little elementary school girls. He bombs hospitals. He bombs bridges. He bombs a steel plant. He ruins everything. And they go, wait, not like this. Well, that's all he's going to... Of course, that's all they're going to do. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. These are fucking monsters that we're talking about here. They're looting and pillaging the United States of America. They're stripping everything down to the studs. They're robbing us blind, and you think they're good people looking to free you? Like, what? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What is going on, dog? What the fuck is this?
They enter the island because we need an intervention now so the Castro panelistas leave.
Please, sir, bomb my country.
He says if Trump invades, he'd be on the front lines with the Americans.
Oh, my word. Oh, no. Oh, no. Look, I want to be kind because, you know, I'm sure I would have some wacky-ass beliefs, too, if my life was this poor and this desperate. But, like, you have to realize that the massive increase in misery brought about by the embargo is squarely on Trump and Marco Rubio. To not acknowledge that is just like, it's just a war on reality.
Yo estaría en la primera línea de combate. His fury is fueled by what he shows me next. On the third floor of a nearby apartment block, his mother should be in hospital.
Oh.
But she's stuck here in acute pain with a heart condition.
Oh.
The drugs she needs are running out, and so is her patience.
Yeah, if only there wasn't a fucking embargo that would block the medicine from coming in. If only Donald Trump, your hero, wasn't doing that embargo.
She says, I wish I could die every time I get sick. Honestly, I ask God every day to bring me death, because this isn't easy.
Oh.
Margot is almost as old as the revolution she feels has failed her. She's weeping for better days, and so is Cuba. Dan Rivers, ITV News, Havana.
Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. Oh, it's so hard to watch. It's so hard to watch. And now, like I said, the U.S. is in position to actually bomb and actually attack. And the Cuban government is handing out guns and shit. Like, it could pop off. If it doesn't, the only thing that's probably preventing it is what's happening in the Middle East now with Iran and Israel fighting again, the hot war popping off again. If it doesn't happen, that's the only reason why. So buckle up, because this dude, this second term of his, I think he's breaking records in terms of number of countries he's attacking, and I don't see anything slowing him down. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video.
Okay, chat.
Independent journalist Nick Shirley from his viral videos. He spent months following the money. Investigations looking into fraud in the United States, even testifying before Congress on the theft of taxpayer dollars.
Loser!
But now he's being threatened on the streets of New York City, called racist, Islamophobic, all for asking questions. And then his life threatened in this viral video.
What's wrong with that guy's dog?
I've seen your videos. I've seen your videos. Hey, you too. Thank you. How did I frame it? That was a bunch of racists over here. A bunch of racists over here. You. How am I racist or Islamophobic? What do I got to pull up 90 clips of you? Me saving taxpayer dollars? Saving taxpayer dollars. You know what, man? You. And get out of New York, man. You know what? It's really smart. You have a bodyguard. It's really smart.
I'd probably tell him the same thing.
Any leftist organization, show them my photo, they'll know who I am. Okay, makes perfect sense. No, someone's gonna I promise you. For what?
He's right.
Independent journalist Nick Shirley joins me now.
It's not
Nick,
a
I don't know
threat.
If the audience
He's
could see
warning
at the end of that
like,
video as he's
look
crossing
out.
the
He's
street.
not being a
he says
dumbass.
To you something about it's going to happen.
He's going to run into an unhinged person eventually.
He holds like a finger gun up to the bottom of his chin, like you're going to get shot.
Yeah, he said somebody's going to find you, then does this and walks away. And obviously these people, the reason why I actually went back and confronted this guy.
Oh, now he's wearing a
he
shirt that says support independent journalism.
Across the street from me, you're going to get kirked next. That's what he yelled at me. So I said, well, we can't let these people push us around. Like, we have to, like, stand up for yourself. You cannot just let these people think they can say that stuff. So I went back over across the street to talk with him, and then you see the interaction right there. And he can't even give one single example about why he says I'm Islamophobic or racist. But he does just do a lot of yelling, obviously, and can't give any example, and then obviously does this at the end as well.
So he begins your interaction, Nick, by saying you're going to get kirked next. And then at the end of your interaction, he suggests you're going to get shot with his hand. He says to you in that interaction,
typical New York
my
humor.
Photo to any leftist organization, and they'll know who I am, as though he is someone of some consequence. So have we found out who is this man?
Yeah, I have found out who this guy is. He's actually an immigration lawyer here in New York City, down by Chinatown, apparently. And like he said, he's very well known
good luck,
in
buddy.
all the leftist organizations. If you show his face, he's obviously involved. I even had a buddy who's also sent me an email saying that this guy had also threatened his life as well. This guy's he's a radical.
And he's an immigration lawyer in New York City.
Yes, from what I've seen.
Incredible.
Yeah, look out.
Here's the thing, Nick.
He might deport you, Nick.
And I don't know. I think it struck me like this is insane. The place we are getting on a daily basis and on a multitude of stories, we are getting to this tribalistic, insane perspective. But then in the course of talking to you,
you guys are doing that. You're the racist.
I would imagine this isn't the first time this has happened to you. Since you first put out your report about what was going on in Minneapolis last Christmas, I imagine this might be fairly regular.
Yeah, I mean, it happens every time. I mean, I get approached by hundreds of people when I'm in New York City, and this was just one guy who went absolutely crazy. I walked out of the subway and literally he started yelling at me, and then he said I'm gonna get kirked. So then I went and said, no, we can't let these guys say this stuff. We can't let these guys bully us.
Is that all you got, Nick?
So I went and confronted him.
Is that all you got, buddy?
These people have nothing to stand on. Like
you
they
don't
can't give
either.
you a single example.
You're a racist pig.
They are literally radical. Like
yeah, we are
it's
radical.
Actually kind of dangerous.
What do you think should happen to him, Nick? I mean, should this guy be investigated? That's a terroristic threat at a minimum, I would think. I mean, it's a pretty direct incitement to violence. What do you think should happen to this lawyer?
Yeah, I do think he should be investigated, and all those left-wing groups that he says he's so well known for being a part of, they should also come out and saying, hey, we don't support this individual. But that's the crazy thing, is these left-wing organizations support individuals like this. Like, they don't want us to talk. Like, they want to silence us.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you won't be silenced, Nick, and I hope that somebody like
this can face some measure of accountability. We just call you out.
At a minimum,
you don't like it when we call you what you are.
Works with distancing themselves from him, but we've seen how many elected officials have chosen not to distance themselves from the like of Graham Plattner, and all this seemed to come together today. It's just, I wouldn't hold my breath that these people are going to be distancing themselves from this type of behavior, but it should be, and we wish you the best. Thanks so much, Nick.
Thank you. At least maybe they'll take his dog. He was strangling the dog.
Yeah,
he was treating his dog pretty bad.
The dog didn't deserve being around this type of violence, these threats of violence either. All right, Nick Shirley.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's all I got, chat. All right, then. All right, then. Stop. Stop. Downloading content? What's new? What is new, folks? The fuck? What's the new content? All right, let's watch something cool. Damn. Hello? Can I get a fucking YouTube? Huh? Oh shit. No, gossip time, boys.
Asmongold here, his part of the cope train of Republicans that just can't wrap their mind around the fact that Spencer Pratt got fucking destroyed and will not be moving on to the runoff in the LA mayoral election, which is obviously just hilarious.
More brilliant analysis from this fucking moron, Gavin. Well, Asmongold now claims the LA mayoral race was rigged after prematurely celebrating and blaming Hassan Piker for Nithya Raman's loss before the votes were all counted. They're rigging it. We're at the point now where I don't think that anybody ...
blown out. See ya, bitch. Thank God. Yes, remember he had that bitch on his stream? Yes, what you get. Maybe you shouldn't have been trying.
Also, the casual misogyny of just calling her a bitch. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit, woke, Scoldy, but I think you can tell if a man just often just goes back to it like this woman's a bitch.
Unless it's like Hillary Clinton. Yeah, it seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
Thank God. Yes, remember he had that bitch on his stream? Yes, what you get. Maybe you shouldn't have been trying to. Hassan really should be blaming himself for this. You had this woman on to be part of the LA mayor. That's what you get. It's his fault. He did this. That's why he's trying to stay off the screen, because he knows that he doesn't want to take credit. He's embarrassed. And so she's been going up. Look at how many votes she's been getting here, with all mail-in ballots. They're rigging it.
It's so fucking stupid. We also talked about this a few days ago. Republicans constantly shit on mail-in ballots. That's been a pillar of Donald Trump's presidency since at least COVID. Since 2020, this dude's been talking shit on mail-in ballots. You can't trust the mail-in ballots. Fox News 24/7, don't mail in your ballot, don't mail in your ballot. Well, guess what, guys? Your fucking audience listens to you. The Republican Party listens to you, and they don't vote by mail anymore. So how can you stand here and be all fucking shocked and act like it's rigged that you're not getting any of the mail-in votes?
They're rigging it. And also, we're at the point now where I don't think that anybody should be afraid to say that. And I think that really we need to have more oversight, because these are the same people that said that the Minnesota daycares were legitimate. Blown the fuck.
Yeah, thanks for your brilliant fucking analysis. As Hassan mentioned, gotta bring up the racist attack on the Somali immigrants in fucking Minnesota for literally no reason. It has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. But yeah, let's mention that, because I have two fucking brain cells to rub together, and all I can remember to regurgitate is some bullshit that Nick Shirley fucking made up. Yeah. Jesus Christ. So yeah, Hassan says more brilliant analysis from this fucking moron. Also, Zach, I've seen a few people in chat point this out. I was planning on pointing it out myself. But I guess this is his attempt to be funny because it's Pride Month or something. But This dude has literally been wearing the same shirt in all of his fucking videos that have come out in like the last week, which is this like rainbow colored t-shirt or something.
Tie-dye.
Yeah, like literally every single video. You can scroll back like 3 days ago, 4 days ago, still wearing this fucking shirt. 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
Oh, that means it's all 6 days ago, really, because YouTube's a day behind.
Yeah. 5 days ago. This bro is literally wearing the same shirt in every single video he's posted this month. I'm like, he's really leaning into the, like, I'm a disgusting, smelly incel shit. Like, I only have one shirt to wear or something, and I'm just going to wear it in every fucking show after bragging about how I don't have to shower because I'm not fat. That was a literal quote from him. He was like, I don't have to shower because I'm not fat like Stavi. So it's like, yeah, just imagine how bad this guy fucking smells. I feel bad for this lady who he apparently does a shitty ass podcast with now.
What the fuck?
Oh yeah, that's gross. Here, can you go down back to the first one we see where he's wearing that and click on it? It's like gaming is fucked or whatever. Let's see. Yeah, right here. Yeah. And see when he uploaded this, because this is a clip that was uploaded
5 days ago.
Yeah, but if you click on it, it'll tell us the date.
Oh.
Yeah, so June 4th. Yeah, okay. So that means he probably filmed this on June 3rd. And that's we're approaching a full week. So that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty disgusting. Pretty disgusting. It's like, maybe you should change your shirt, bro. But he's like, I'm gonna own the gays by smelling disgusting and wearing dirty laundry.
Also, what's with the pineapple? What's with the pineapple right next to him?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm just like, this dude has a disgusting ass rotting house filled with trash everywhere, but like a relatively ripe, fresh pineapple sitting next to him. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. Good point. Good catch. I'm not sure what's going on with the pineapple, but yeah. Pretty disgusting. And yeah, just total cope. And I've seen a ton of cope. Here's a good one from Benny Johnson. Even Robbie Suave had to debunk this bullshit. He says, straight up false. At no point in this video did Nithya Raman concede. You can't even be bothered to watch the 19-second video you clipped. Please exit political commentary forever. And again, yeah, Robbie Suave is not a fucking liberal. He's not a leftist. He's a hardcore libertarian right-winger. I'm sure you guys remember from back in the era when, Brianna Joy Gray co-hosted Rising with him. This guy has all sorts of hideous, odious opinions. But even he's out here debunking some of this insane cope from his conservative colleagues like Benny Johnson, who think this is some sort of incredible gotcha, that Nithya Raman conceded, which, for one, even if she had conceded, that doesn't change the fact that the votes came in, and it paints a different picture than what she thought was happening on election night. But she didn't even fucking concede. Do you want to watch this video real quick?
Yeah.
I hope you know that everything every person in this room is fighting for in this campaign has been about building a city that's worthy of you and every child in this city.
Oh, wow. Not only is it a relatively nice message to, I believe, her 2 children who were in the room at that time, but also absolutely not a concession. At no point does she even reference conceding the race.
Right.
Pretty hysterical.
And like, just because you're like crying or what, that doesn't mean, people cry when they win elections. They're like, this is so emotional. Thank you to my family. Or like, she wasn't conceding. But again, even if she had conceded, like, that doesn't change the fact that the votes came in and now she would have to unconcede. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous. But yeah, I just thought it was hilarious that even fucking Robbie Suave has to debunk this nonsense from total fucking idiot propagandists like Benny Johnson.
Yeah, I saw Glenn out there arguing with a lot of people too, being like, you guys are fucking idiots. You don't know how elections work. Like, yeah,
Benny,
it takes a long time to count
I'm
these
a
votes. We
numbers
can talk
guy.
about that, but
I'm a numbers guy.
Nothing's been rigged.
Benny, can you
I saw
rock
this
it?
tweet from Onion Person. Shout out to them. I'm pretty convinced that every brain dead and liar right-winger is talking about the LA mayor race being rigged, so they have justification to rig or cancel the 2026 or 2028 elections. And here's that doofus Brett Weinstein, washed up fucker from the intellectual dark web back in the day. He was like, crawled out of Rogan's asshole and one day became the internet's problem. But he was going off about the rigging of the LA mayor race is primary is obvious, right? So do you think that that's kind of them laying the ground floor to say that the midterms are rigged because they know the Democrats are absolutely going to curb stomp them? Or do you think this is isolated to California?
I mean, I think Trump and the hardcore MAGA idiots like Brett Weinstein and fucking Benny Johnson. They're going to say that no matter what.
Right.
Like, I mean, Trump has been saying every election he's ever lost is rigged since the beginning. He was already laying the groundwork to say that 2016 was going to be rigged before he won 2016. Like, that's just their fucking playbook. So, I mean, yes, it's more of that. It's the, pattern of behavior continuing. But it's not like this is some new, devious plot that they just came up with like a few weeks ago or something. Like, this has just been their playbook. Whenever we lose, it was rigged. But when we win, it magically wasn't rigged somehow. So it makes no fucking sense. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna say it's rigged in 2026 if the blue wave really does materialize in the way that we're predicting. Of course they're gonna say it's fucking rigged.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I'm just interested to see how that takes over the Republican Party and how effective that is as a line of messaging in the aftermath of the midterms. Because I think with gas prices the way they are, with grocery prices the way they are, obviously public sentiment really, really waning with Donald Trump. Obviously, he got booed at the Knicks game last night, but if you look at his approval rating, it's
Mostly
really getting
cheers.
close
What are
to
you
dipping
talking
under
about,
30%,
boys?
which is a nightmare. It's the lowest it's ever been in either of his presidencies, so not looking good. So yeah, will be interesting to cover that. While we're on the topic of Nithya Raman, I've got one more quick video to get your reaction to, Gavin, because somebody is pretty disappointed. Now, listen, Gavin and I have talked about how Nithya Raman's not a perfect candidate. She refuses to call what is obviously a genocide in Gaza a genocide in Gaza. She has been wishy-washy on some progressive policies that she's endorsed in the past. But I think if you compare her to Spencer Pratt, Karen Bass, it's a no-brainer, right? She is the most ideal candidate of the bunch. And if you have progressive politics like we have, which is why I was a little surprised to see, maybe not surprised to see this from Anna Kasparian, but a good reaction from her to react to.
Yeah, definitely excited to hear this cope from Anna Kasparian. I have a feeling that she was probably a closet Spencer Pratt voter, in the same way that, she was almost definitely a closeted Rick Caruso voter. Remember that when Cenk Uygur publicly announced that he was supporting fucking Rick Caruso the last time around? Anna stayed kind of silent, but she never pushed back on Cenk. I have a feeling a similar thing is happening this time, where it's like she doesn't have the balls to actually say she supported Spencer Pratt. But given her commentary on Nithya Raman, I have a feeling that's who she was hoping would make it through into the runoff. Again, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't have any definitive proof, just some speculation. But yeah, let's hear this cope from Anna as she realizes that the horrible, evil progressive has entered the runoff.
Shut the fuck up.
So the Los Angeles mayoral candidate, who you might be familiar with, Spencer Pratt, former reality star, he's the most right-wing of the leading candidates. The others include incumbent mayoral candidate Karen Bass, who has been disastrous. And then the other challenger is Nithya Raman, a current city council member, who is even more disastrous than Karen Bass. Yeah, I said it. I live in her district. I'm not interested in hearing anyone from Brooklyn tell me she's amazing. She's not amazing. Okay, under her leadership,
was that a shot fired? Was that a shot fired at the Majority Report?
1,000,000%. That was about Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar. Who else from Brooklyn records and talks about politics like we do?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not interested in hearing anyone from Brooklyn talk about this. Jesus Christ.
Corner in my neighborhood has seen endless drug overdose deaths.
Sure.
This woman lives in a freaking ivory tower, giant mansion in Hollywood with her TV writer husband. And has gated, by the way, lots of security, and then has the audacity to tell Angelinos that we don't need cops.
Which is honestly a lie, and something that people on the left criticized her for. She actually, walked back her former statements where during the height of the George Floyd protests, she made a lot of really, really aggressive statements supporting defunding the police. And a lot of people were trying to hold her accountable for that from the left, saying, hey, you made a lot of these bold promises. You said we need to defund the police. We need to stop, doing this aggressive tactic
Hassan was
of
getting pissed off
and
at her.
abusing people who are vulnerable and people who are suffering from mental health crisis.
She was very cagey
and she actually was like, no, actually, if I'm the mayor of Los Angeles, we are going to give plenty of money to the police and we're going to enforce these laws, et cetera, et cetera. She actually moved to the right on the issue in a way that Anna Kasparian seemingly wanted her to, but she doesn't acknowledge that at all. She just has her fantasy made up that she wants to completely remove the cops from Los Angeles. And that reinforces my belief that you're totally correct. She was intending on supporting Spencer Pratt. And I think what she wanted to be able to do was say, Karen Bass has been been such a disaster. We have no choice but to support Spencer Pratt because we can't possibly get behind Karen Bass again. But now that it's Karen Bass, a centrist liberal, or Nithya Raman, let's just say a centrist progressive, she's having a conniption fit.
Yeah, let's hear the rest of this.
She's a joke. She's a joke. But hey, you know, since she's the most far left, we're just going to assume that she's a better candidate. All the candidates, not my favorite. I would rather have Karen Bass reelected than have Nithya Raman. Nithya Raman needs to go. That's my view of Nithya Raman. Total disaster. And I do not like Karen Bass. So this gives you a sense of how much I've loathed Nithya Raman's leadership here in the district she represents, the district I live in. And if you're an Angelino living in Beverly Hills or West Hollywood and you're not a victim of her leadership, I'd like you to shut up. But anyway.
A victim of her leadership. She's literally a city council woman. Like, I feel like Anna's acting like city council people have more power than they actually have. She's like, she's a city council in this city council woman in this district, and there's homeless people in this district doing drugs. It's like, what do you think the city council woman is going to do about that? Go and clean up the block and you know, pick up all the heroin needles off the ground? Like, I'm not saying that city council people don't have serious power. Obviously they do. They have a lot of power, but they don't have that much power. They can't single-handedly just like vote to remove all of the homeless drug addicts out of the neighborhoods that they represent. Like, that's just not what a city council person does. So again, I don't know a ton about Nithya Raman. I'm not trying to just glaze her too much just because Anna hates her. I'm not just going to pretend that I love her or something. I think there are some serious red flags there. But that just comes off as a right-wing response. Like, oh, this lady doesn't like the cops enough, right? Therefore, that she's been a disaster. And she's a city council woman, but there's homeless people in the district she represents, which is somehow her fault. Like, it's literally not. There's nothing she can really do about that. I'm sorry. And obviously, I agree that the homeless issue is an issue in California, specifically in LA. No one would deny that, specifically not people on the left. Obviously, we want to fix that. The difference between us and Anna Kasparian is that we don't think that fucking adding more cops to the streets is going to do anything. You think, oh, if we add 150 more cops, that's really going to fix the issues of LA? Like, you really think that's the solution? Oh, yeah, just add some more cops. That'll make everything go away. It's just like, no, we're sophisticated enough to realize that that's not the fucking solution to the problem. But no one's disagreeing that there is a problem.
Totally. And two things I would add to that. One, she is not critical of Spencer Pratt at all. She says none of the candidates are my favorite, but she's specifically critical of Karen Bass and Nithya Raman in this segment. Doesn't say anything negative in particular about Spencer Pratt, which I thought was interesting. And she also predicates her entire argument on this like Douglas Murray ass, like, if you're not from here, you don't get to comment on it. Like, if you don't live here, you don't get to have political sentiments on it. Like, oh, I wouldn't take any analysis from somebody who's never been to Israel. It's like, if you're not from my neighborhood in the valley, I don't have to listen to you. It's like, oh, well, you don't really like it when the shoe's on the other foot, Anna. That's absolutely crazy and totally hypocritical. Like, obviously people are allowed to have political thoughts and feelings about other things that are happening in their country, right? Hello. And I get it. You have a specific connection to the issue because it's your, home district. You live in Los Angeles, right? But LA is one of the biggest cities in America. It's only natural for people to want to have opinions about it. And the Young Turks did coverage of the mayoral race in fucking New York City after they waited for it to be really, really obvious that Zoran was going to win.
Yeah, I don't want to hear what some fucking Angelino has to say about the New York mayoral election. Right. It's not something that anyone said at the time, obviously. But yeah, speaking of that, she's like, I don't want to hear from anyone from fucking Brooklyn. Like, shut your mouth if you're from Brooklyn or whatever. Okay, fair enough. Let's hear from somebody that is from California and actually lives in Los Angeles. Let's hear from Francesca Fiorentini. I thought she had a great take on this because she's not just like blindly celebrating Nithya Raman, but I think she's making some really interesting points about why this is worth getting excited about.
Los Angeles is about to have a real election, okay? None of this should we or shouldn't we deport the unhoused to a glorified prison. No, we're going to actually talk about real solutions for the city of LA, how to make it more affordable, how to stop ICE from kidnapping our neighbors, how to have better public transportation, how to be climate prepared, how to actually stop the price gouging for renters, on and on and on. Hats off to Nithya Raman. Hats off to everyone who voted for Nithya. Let's go, y'all. 22,000 votes ahead of Pratt.
Yep. That's what matters. All right, guys. I gotta go. I'll see you guys tomorrow.